All right, I took a chance on the road and made it up here. It was a little sketchy, but made it. Sketchy in the way it was just narrow and rocky, but this is the place. This used to be a 2-story lodging house. Right here, this is the remnants of it. My earliest memory of being here is probably in 1980. Came up here on a family trip. And at that time, I remember that the building was still standing. And on this end of the building right here, there was a stairway. And you could go up onto the second level. And it was just a whole bunch of rooms with beds in it. Kind of pretty cool. This is probably where they stayed when they worked the mines up here. And then over here there was an old fireplace. I don't know if remnants of it might still be here. I don't know. It's amazing what happens to these places over time, between weather and elements and vandals and you name it. Let's see. Can't remember where the fireplace was. I thought it was right here on this end, like either there or... Oh, maybe this is it. That little niche in the stucco. Right there. But yeah, this is a pretty handy little place because there's a little river or stream or whatever you want to call it. It's about 2.5, 3 feet wide. Not very deep. But yeah, it was an all stucco building. What I'm walking on here is 2 stories worth of rubble and wall. Great place to pick up a nail in your shoe if you're not careful. But I've been coming up here my whole life, just about nearly every year for the last 20 years. But yeah, here's a little bit of the foundation of that building. But this is their root cellar that they had where they stored their food. Pretty cool. There's another one on the other side of the creek down there a little bit. But really quite neat. You know, they put in a concrete roof and put dirt on it. You know, to keep it in the ground. You know, I think, you know, whenever you're in the ground like this, it maintains a constant temperature, 50, 55 degrees. It's pretty good for storing food. And anyway, I'm going to put my pack on because there's a couple other little cool things up the road a little bit, but this is as far as I'm going to take my truck. Because this road beyond this gets really bad. I've been on it one time years ago and swore I'd never go on it again. And I haven't. I mentioned ghost town. I think this is a legit ghost town because I had an encounter here years ago where I saw some pretty spooky stuff. Like right back here. Right, where am I? Right here. I watched a couple of lights, a pair of lights, like lantern lights, come up the canyon behind me here. I was up on the hill over here, and I watched these lights come up the road, and we were just camped like right here, so pretty close, maybe 40 yards is all. And about the time those lights got here by this cellar thing right here, they disappeared right in front of our eyes, and it was the spookiest freaking thing I've ever seen in my life. But I kid you not, just talking about it puts the hair on my back standing straight up. It's crazy. So this is the spot where we were camped. We had a fire ring there, and we had our trucks here, and we can't remember if we slept in the trucks or tent. But this was all grown over since we were here. And we could see down to the root cellar that was just through those trees right there. And we saw those lights coming up the canyon, till they got there, right there in front of us. They just like somebody shut them off. No sounds, no nothing. Just these two glowing lights disappear. It was me and my friend. We were so spooked and scared. We wanted to leave that night, but it was already bedtime. And we just stayed up all night, scared and listening to the grass blow in the wind, thinking they were coming to get us. Scary. Anyway, onward up this road here a little bit. There's this little log cabin that was crafted back in the day. I'm not sure the history behind it, but I do remember seeing it when I was a kid. And I remember coming up here with my uncles. And this was back in the early 80s. And he carved his name in one of these logs right here. I don't know if you can see it anymore, but it was right here. Yeah, it's pretty much weathered and gone now. But it was carved into that log right there. Of course, that was back when the log still had bark on it. You can see the remnants of the M right here. It was an M. It was said Megara. That was the surname of my grandpa and his boys. Anyway, looks like some others have made their mark over time, but the one that I always look for is this one, right at the door. There's just a little bit of the M left. That's it. Look at that nice lush green grass. We're in here in the middle of the desert. You got this lush green grass and vegetation. It's all from these little bits of water. There's two springs. There's one right down here, and then there's another one up this road a little ways. Usually when I come up here, check out this spring, there's usually a bunch of squirrels up here, and sometimes I'll kick up a pine hen or something, scare the crap out of you, because they don't fly until you step on them. Yeah, looking at that grass, you'd think you're back home, need to mow it. And that, I forget which spring is which, but I think this one is Indian Springs, and the lower one below it is Coyote Springs. Yeah, the water is crazy. In the middle of the desert, and this water literally flows right out of that rock right there. It's crazy. And it's just crystal clear water. Anyway, it comes out right there. Doesn't look like much, but it sure does flow a lot coming out. It's pretty cool. But here we are in the middle of the desert, sagebrush and cedar. And then you got all these cottonwood and deciduous trees right here. Pretty cool. I mentioned UFOs. I think that right up here, if the view is still there, is where I saw some crazy stuff down in the valley. It's probably some high-tech military aircraft or something, but oh wow, look at that. There's a piece of metal of something up here. Huh. It's kind of a random piece of metal in the middle of nowhere. Huh. Oh yeah, this is where it was actually. So we were sitting up here looking down into the valley down there. It was night. Granted, it's Area 52, but right out there in the distance, we were watching these lights that would turn on, and they'd fly over here, turn off, turn back on, and fly back over, back and forth. It was crazy, but they were moving so fast, like, I don't know how fast, but fast. To zip across the horizon that quick and then just disappear is crazy. But yeah, this is actually another, we were in this same spot when we were watching those lights come up the canyon that disappeared. You can see a glimpse of the, but anyway, we saw glimpses of them coming up the canyon, and as I got closer to our camp, we thought, oh, we better go down to our camp, which was just right here in the trees. And we were sitting there and looking over at that cellar. Couldn't make out any silhouettes in the darkness or nothing. And they just disappeared. Those lights just shut off. It was crazy. It wasn't like a flashlight or a headlight or anything like that. It was a glowing orb of light. It was weird, spooky, but big, like a headlight, like 6-inch diameter. Anyway, whenever I come up here, I think about that. Crazy, crazy stuff. I almost quit coming up here after that, but I don't know. It's just too cool of an area to not check out. It's so cool though. Fresh water in the desert. Oh yeah, and this is Coyote Spring, right there. Comes right out of the ground. Right there. And down it flows. And then it joins with the water from Indian Spring. And then by the time it reaches the bottom of the canyon, it's gone. It filters into the ground into some kind of an underground river. Got some more memories here. We used to tie a rope on that limb right there and hang a swing below that tree, and the kids, they'd swing back and forth on that rope and that swing, and then they'd climb up that tree, and right up there, that big old gnarly crusty thing right there, that used to be their hut. They used to, before that branch all caved in on it, they used to sit up there and hang out. Yeah, and then another time, we came up here on a early March camp. We got up here, I don't know how we got up here in the winter or in the early spring, but we got up here and had my spring bar tent right here, right in that spot. And there was snow on the ground. I had to drive steel stakes into the ice to stake down the tent. And it happened to be one of our coldest March 2nd that we've ever had in a long time. And it happened to be that night. And I had my son with me. He was, I don't know, 3 or 4 at the time. He went everywhere with us. And anyway, we had him all bundled down for the night. And I don't know, partway through the night, I woke up. I don't wake up in the middle of the night ever. But I woke up that night looking straight up at my son, standing over there, half blue and shivering. It's in pretty good hypothermia. Scared the living daylights out of me. I don't know if he got out of bed to use the restroom or what, but anyway, that was a close call. I got him in my sleeping bag with me and got him all warmed up, and man, that was a close one. And after that, I never took him on any more cold weather camps until he got older. That one almost was a hard lesson. But anyway, lots of memories here. All right, I promise I'm not crazy. I just got to show you one more time. So from about this distance, from here to that cellar right there, there are these 2 glowing orbs of light about the size of headlights. Just right about waist level. And my friend and I, we looked at those and we looked at them and looked at them. We couldn't see any silhouettes of anybody, any silhouette of a car, nothing. Even though it was dark, there's still ambient light from the stars and moon and stuff. But golly, we couldn't see anything but those glowing orbs. And watched them, and then they just vanished right before our eyes. It's the scariest freaking thing I've ever seen. Anyway, pretty crazy. So I climbed up the hill a little bit from the little miners' encampment and just kind of show you the canyon. So I came up that canyon there. There's that little meadow there where I pulled off. And then I walked up that ravine right there. Right up. You can probably see the tailings right there. And then those mines that I went into are over there. And that's the road above that gets to them. And then right below us, right here is that old metal rusted building. It's probably a barn of some sort, because that's where the grassy little meadow is for the cattle to feed. And then over here, just out of sight, if I come over here, I can maybe see it better. So right up in those trees there, that's where that little log cabin is. And Indian Spring is up that draw. And then the road continues on, the one I swore I'd never go on again. It continues around and drops over the top of that other side of the mountain there. And then right down here, where that fire pit is, that's next to that little miner's hut. My truck's right there, and that little cellar with the disappearing lights right there. Anyway, it's a pretty neat little area. Been coming up here for my whole life. It's one of the neat areas I keep in my back pocket for when the UNAs are shut down or the weather's bad or whatever. It's usually pretty good up here. And right now it's about 80 degrees and sunny, even though those thunderheads were flying over and it's still hot. Anyway, what do you expect for a desert? Hot. It's supposed to be hot. Hot and dry. This one just has a bonus river at the bottom of it, which is awesome. Yeah, it looks like we got a series of gushers coming in, and I'm on a not so good road, so I'm gonna get down lower and see if I can't get some more drone shots before dark, and then I'll make a decision if I'm gonna spend the night or not. But man, that horizon looks pretty nice and scary at the same time. Alright, so I made my way out of the canyon because that nastiness and more more behind it was heading up the canyon, up in there where I was at. And that road was kind of sketch as it was, but I didn't want to get sideways in a sloppy mess of rain. Anyway, so I think I'm probably not going to spend the night. All right. So with these storms coming in, and I had to come all down out of the canyon where I was, and there's camp down here at the bottom where I thought about maybe spending the night. So because they snagged up that spot, I guess I'll probably head home instead of spending the night. But I'm just glad I was able to get out and get up here and, you know, relive some of those old memories up there. It's awesome. So anyway, thanks for coming along.